I brought the investor proposal straight to my husband's office, only to find him leaned back, eyes half-lidded, as the intern perched on his desk, giggling while adjusting her top. Liam didn't even flinch when I walked in. "You again?" he said, voice laced with irritation. The intern jumped off the desk, cheeks red, mumbling, "Mrs. Grace, it's not what it looks like." Liam smirked, wrapping his arm around her waist. "Actually, it's exactly what it looks like." He looked me up and down like I was a piece of outdated equipment. "You're not needed here anymore. Go be emotional somewhere else." I stared at the pitch folder in my hand. 8 months of work, shredded in 5 seconds. He reached out, plucked it from me, and tossed it into the bin. "We'll let the men handle real business." I didn't say a word. I just turned, walked out, and called my lawyer. I had just dropped off the quarterly reports at HR when I passed the executive wing. The conference door was cracked open, and I heard laughter, his laugh. Curious, I peeked in. There was Liam, my husband, casually brushing something off his secretary's chest. Her blouse was halfway unbuttoned. "You really should be more careful," he said in a tone he hadn't used with me in years. The girl giggled. "You always look out for me, sir." I stood frozen. When Liam finally noticed me, he didn't even flinch. "Why are you here?" he asked coldly, like I was intruding. "Delivering your lunch," I replied, lifting the bag in my hand. "That's not necessary anymore," he said without emotion. "We have a private chef for the execs now. You're not needed here anymore." I smiled tightly, turned around, and threw the bag in the trash outside. That night, I stood alone on the balcony of our penthouse, holding a chilled glass of water, watching the city breathe beneath me. My husband had changed. This man who once called me his lucky charm now acted like I was a stain on his reputation. I replayed his words again and again. "You're not needed here anymore." It wasn't just about lunch. It was about us. About how small he now wanted me to feel. About how he discarded the woman who had slept on office floors to help him build his dream. And worse, how he did it all for a secretary with red lipstick and fake sympathy. The stars above felt mocking, distant. I looked at my reflection in the glass and whispered, "Fine. Then I'll become someone you'll never be needed by again." That night, something inside me shifted. It wasn't rage. It was clarity. 2 days later, I requested a leave of absence. Liam didn't notice. He didn't even ask. Instead, he gave his secretary, Chloe, my corner office. The same office I designed when we moved into our new HQ. The same one where I'd burned midnight oil and brainstormed campaign after campaign. I watched as she moved in, heels clicking, pretending she'd earned everything. "Don't worry," she cooed when she saw me clearing my desk. "I'll take good care of it." I smiled. "That's the difference between us, Chloe. I took care of people. You take care of appearances." She blinked, confused. Liam passed by, not even looking at me. "Grace," he muttered, "just go quietly, okay?" I walked out without a word. But deep down, I was already making calls. Not to cry. To buy. I used the rest of my savings and contacted an old friend, Evelyn. She was once our biggest investor, before Liam forced her out. "So," she said, "finally ready to stop building his empire?" I nodded. "Ready to build my own?" Evelyn grinned. "Or ready to buy back the one you already built?" That's how it started. We pulled files, called shareholders, and watched Liam's financial statements. His ego had grown faster than his profits. Within weeks, Evelyn and I had quietly acquired 43% of the company's stock. It was enough to make him nervous, but not yet dethroned. "Not yet." "What do you want to do when you're in control?" Evelyn asked. "Fire them all." I paused. "No. I want them to see who they threw away. Then I'll fire them." It didn't take long. Liam's arrogance was his own downfall. He missed a major vendor renewal, something I had always handled. A $12 million loss, just like that. Shareholders panicked. Meetings were called. He tried to shift blame, but it was too late. The final straw was a leaked video, him at the annual gala, dancing too closely with Chloe, wine in hand, bragging about how he didn't need his boring wife to run things anymore. That's when Evelyn called an emergency board vote. "You're out," she told him plainly. He laughed at first. Then he saw me enter the room. In a tailored navy blue pantsuit, hair pinned back, eyes steady. I sat at the head of the table. "Hi, Liam," I said. "Remember when you said I wasn't needed?" Liam stood there, dumbfounded. "You," he sputtered. "You can't be serious. You have no authority here." Evelyn raised an eyebrow. "Actually, with Grace's shares combined with mine, she has controlling interest now." The silence in the boardroom was delicious. Chloe stood up too fast and almost knocked over her coffee. But I'm VP now," she stammered. "VP of what?" I said. "Liam's ego? Your own fantasies?" Liam stepped forward, voice rising. "You're emotional. You always were. That's why I never let you lead." I smiled. "And that's why I'm here now. Because I stopped listening to men who confuse emotion with weakness." The vote passed. Liam was removed. Chloe resigned. And just like that, the empire they tried to steal was mine again. The following Monday, I walked into my new office, the same one Chloe had defiled with her fake gratitude. The air felt different now. Empowered. Real. On the desk sat a bouquet of lilies from Evelyn with a note. "Welcome back, CEO." I looked at the city's skyline through the window and whispered, "I'm needed here now." That afternoon, I called an all-hands meeting. Staff members shuffled in, eyes curious and cautious. I stood at the front and said, "You've all seen changes. Some good, some not. I'm not here to play favorites. I'm here to build. If you're with me, welcome. If not, there's the door." I could feel their respect rising. Not because I was Liam's wife, but because I had survived him. As the day went on, I slowly walked through the office halls. Familiar faces smiled. A few whispered, "Welcome back, Miss Grace." I simply nodded. I wasn't here for applause. I was here for legacy. That evening, just before I left, the receptionist handed me a package. "It's from Mr. Liam," she said softly. I opened it in my car. Inside was the 5th anniversary gift I'd thrown away weeks ago, rescued from the trash. Alongside it, a note. "You really weren't needed, Grace. You were essential. I was just too blind to see it." I read it once, then tossed it out the window. Let the wind carry it wherever. That chapter was closed. Outside the building, the moon hung full and bright. I stood beneath it for a moment, breathing in the night. My phone buzzed. It was Evelyn. "How does it feel?" she asked. "Like I just started living," I replied. "Good," she said. "Because the real work begins now." I smiled. Let's build something they'll regret leaving behind. Then I turned, heels clicking confidently on the pavement, back straight, chin high. I didn't need anyone to tell me I was enough. I had already proven it. By the end of the week, I had quietly reorganized the leadership team. Department heads who had previously taken Chloe's side now tried to make small talk in the elevators. I didn't hold grudges, but I remembered. I didn't need revenge. I needed excellence. And that meant removing incompetence, no matter who wore the most perfume. I called an emergency audit of operations, and what I found was worse than I expected. Missed contracts, favoritism in promotions, inflated expense reports. Liam had run this place like his personal playground, and the interns? Many had never even been hired through proper HR. It was a mess. I didn't scream. I documented everything. Sent the reports to legal. And then, at 3:47 p.m. that Friday, I did what Liam once did to me. I walked into the office and said to each of them one by one, "You're not needed here anymore." Liam didn't take the news well. When security escorted him out, he shouted, "I built this place." I didn't even look up from my phone. I was reviewing quarterly figures. Ours had improved by 12% in just 3 weeks. He glared at me like a wounded animal. "You think you've won?" he hissed. I finally met his gaze. Winning wasn't the goal, Liam. Surviving was. That night, Chloe posted a vague Instagram story, something about betrayal and cruel women. I didn't respond. Silence was my final gift to her. The world already knew what happened. The leaked gala video had gone viral on our internal Slack channels. The same employees who once whispered about emotional grace were now cheering her on. Redemption isn't loud. It's earned. And I had earned every second of this. One night, 2 months after taking over, I stayed late at the office to review new hiring proposals. The cleaning staff came in quietly, but one of the older women, Sandra, paused at my door. "Ma'am," she said shyly, "it's good to see this office bright again." I smiled, not because I needed the validation, but because I had forgotten what it felt like to be genuinely seen.
"Thank you, Sandra," I said.
"I hope to keep it that way." She nodded and returned to her mop, and I returned to my plans. That night, I didn't leave until past midnight. As I locked the glass doors behind me, I looked at the polished company logo and whispered, "This time, no one gets to take it from me." Liam, meanwhile, had begun spiraling. Word on the street was that he had tried to pitch a startup, but no investor wanted to touch him. His reputation was scorched, his name synonymous with scandal. He even tried reaching out to Evelyn through mutual contacts, offering to consult on projects. Evelyn simply replied, "We're not hiring washed-up frauds." I didn't gloat. There was no joy in watching someone crumble, just peace in knowing I didn't cause it. Liam had done that all on his own. The man who once called me unstable now sat in a bar ranting about betrayal. But the truth? I didn't betray him. I just stopped saving him. Weeks later, I received a package at the office. No note. No return address. Inside was a photo of Liam and me from our wedding day. Taped behind it was an article clipping his bankruptcy filing. I stared at it for a while. Not because I was sad, but because I barely remembered the woman in that photo. The one who thought love meant sacrifice. Who believed loyalty would be rewarded. That woman was gone. I folded the article, placed it back in the box, and filed it under lessons. When you survive fire, you don't waste time crying over ashes. You rebuild. And this time, you build fireproof. About a month later, I walked past a cafe near our office when I saw him, Liam. He was sitting alone at a corner table, hunched over, stirring a cold coffee that he hadn't touched. Our eyes met through the window. He looked away first. I kept walking. Back when he fired me, he didn't look back either. Fair, isn't it? Later that evening, I got a text from an unknown number. "You win." I lost everything. No name, no signature. But I knew, and I didn't reply. Not because I hated him, but because I finally didn't feel anything. No pain, no rage, just stillness. And after years of being tossed around by chaos, stillness felt like power. It was around this time that Chloe started showing up in the news. Not for anything impressive. Photos of her clubbing with different influencers, crashing private events, tagging herself in designer stores where she bought nothing. Her 15 minutes of fame were louder than they were bright. Rumor had it she tried applying to my company twice. Once under her real name. The second time with a fake resume under the name Chloe Reyes. HR flagged it both times. I said nothing to the team. They handled it. I didn't need to be involved. That chapter was already burned. What surprised me, though, was how unbothered I felt. The woman who once turned my world upside down didn't even stir a reaction now. One weekend, I flew out to New York for a leadership summit. Sitting on a panel with global CEOs, I spoke about resilience, ethics, and leading after betrayal. The audience was filled with women who came up to me afterward, some crying, others furious. "How did you survive it all?" one asked. I smiled gently, because I refused to let them write my ending. That evening, I watched the city lights through the hotel window, my reflection flickering against the glass. For the first time in years, I wasn't looking for anyone's approval. I wasn't waiting for an apology. I had become the person I needed back then, and that was enough. Liam must have felt it too, because one night, long after midnight, I got a voicemail from him. His voice was hoarse, almost unrecognizable. "Grace," he said, "you were right about everything. I see it now. I'm sorry." Then silence. I didn't save the message. Didn't even listen to the end. Redemption wasn't a voicemail. And closure didn't come from people who broke you. It came from walking away and never looking back. And I had already walked so far, his voice couldn't reach me anymore. I sat at the head of the long glass table, the same one where they once mocked me for being too emotional to lead. Now they stared at me with anxious eyes, their fates hanging in my hands. I slid a folder across to Mr. Daniels, my former boss who had smirked when suggesting I resign. His hands trembled as he opened it. This is my termination, he stammered. I nodded, calm and composed.
Yes.
Effective immediately. You've violated multiple ethical guidelines and failed 3 audits. You're done, Daniels. The room was silent except for the sound of documents flipping and shallow breathing. The intern who once laughed at my coffee order was now shrinking in her chair, praying her name wasn't on the next list. I didn't even look at her as I slid another folder forward. Pack your things. Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't blink. I had been humiliated here once. I would not let history repeat. One by one, I dismissed the snakes who had cornered me into that forced resignation a year ago. Each time, I reminded them, calmly, coldly, of what they'd said to me in their arrogance. One man had said, "You'll never make it beyond mid-level." I reminded him of it today, then handed him the document ending his executive career. Another woman once claimed I cracked under pressure. I told her I hadn't cracked. I'd crystallized. And now I was sharp enough to cut every lie and betrayal from this company. She walked out weeping. I didn't feel cruel. I felt clean. Even as the last of them slithered out, I didn't celebrate. I just sat there, finally at peace, knowing I had reclaimed everything they tried to strip from me, and more. After clearing out the boardroom, I looked through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the building I now owned. Down below, employees, ordinary workers who'd always been decent to me, were gathering around a posted announcement. Pay raises, better benefits, parental leave expansion. I smiled faintly. It was never about revenge. It was about building something better. My assistant entered with a sleek, black envelope. "This just arrived, ma'am. It's from Liam." That name stirred no emotion in me now. I opened it. Inside was a wedding invitation. He was marrying Chloe, the same intern I had caught him with, the one who cried misunderstood while adjusting her skirt. I glanced at the RSVP card. Then, without a second thought, I shredded it. The news of my takeover spread quickly. Old acquaintances tried to reach out, some out of guilt, others out of greed. Liam tried too. A text, then a voicemail, then a letter. I ignored them all. I no longer needed closure. I had something better, self-respect. At a gala event a month later, an investor asked if I had any regrets. I sipped my champagne, looked him squarely in the eye, and said, only that I didn't leave them all sooner. My phone buzzed with a message from the orphanage I'd been funding quietly. One of the kids just got accepted into a top-tier school. That's what mattered now. Not Liam. Not Chloe. Not revenge. Purpose. Months passed. I transformed the company into a leading innovator in our sector. Under my leadership, we broke records, won awards, and built a culture rooted in respect, not hierarchy. The employees who once stood silently as I was humiliated now looked at me with genuine admiration, and some with gratitude. I didn't hold grudges against those who had stayed silent, but not cruel. I offered them growth, mentorship, and a place in the future we were building. As for the rest, they'd have to rebuild somewhere else. I didn't care where. I didn't look back. Then, one rainy evening, I was leaving the office late when a figure appeared at the front doors, soaked to the bone. Liam. His once pristine suit was wrinkled. His eyes were hollow. He had lost everything, his job, his standing, even Chloe. She had cheated on him, stolen his savings, and left him bankrupt. Grace, he whispered, I have nothing left. Please, I stood still, expression unreadable. You were right, he said, voice breaking. You were everything. I was nothing without you. For a brief moment, I saw the man I once loved. But it passed. I shook my head. You had everything, and you threw it away. He fell to his knees. I can change. My heart didn't even flutter. Liam, I said, firm and steady, you're not needed here anymore. the words he once used to fire me. Only now they echoed with justice. I turned and walked away, heels clicking against the marble floor like a gavel declaring a final verdict. He remained kneeling there as the security gently escorted him out. The rain had stopped. My car was waiting. And my future? Brighter than ever. I wasn't just leading the company. I was leading my own life, unapologetically, fiercely, freely. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and share with your friends. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories of rebirth, revenge, and redemption.
See you next time.